Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is AES and welcome to my YouTube channel. A few years ago, I created my biggest video, which focused on my top 100 favorite video games of all time. It was during a time when I allowed nostalgia to influence the placements within the list, as well as a time frame when I was not quite familiar with the editing software that I currently use for the videos. Fast forward to 2026, I reviewed hundreds of titles, and I experimented with the quality of the content that I would like to one day provide for you folks. Since a lot of time has passed, I wanted to provide you with an update on my lengthy list of video games that have impressed me by either their story, gameplay, replayability, or audio design. Prior to reviewing the rules, I want to give a shout out to 10 honorable mentions that appeared in the last countdown but did not quite cut it for today's video. Despite their exclusion, they're worth your time. Diablo 3. Easily played for 600 hours across 3 different platforms, Diablo 3 has the addictive gameplay cycle that could hook its teeth into you without any effort and refuse to let go until you discover everything the game has to offer. Bug. I've never officially finished it, but the unique camera, in combination with the character models in the platforming sections, are quite decent on the Sega Saturn. Spec Ops: The Line. A third-person shooter that highlights the terrors of war. The plot in Spec Ops: The Line overshadows every aspect of the game, and it's the case for a good reason. Battlefield 4. The campaign leaves a bit to be desired, but the multiplayer alone was enough justification for the purchase of a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One at launch. Cuphead. A video game that looks like the classic cartoons of the 1930s, Cuphead is a challenging action platformer that is praiseworthy for many aspects, but primarily for its art style. Disney's Aladdin and A Seer's Revenge. It does not hold up well in today's age, but playing as Aladdin in Agrabah resulted in some happy childhood memories. Asura's Wrath. An anime in the form of a video game, Asura's Wrath is a great example of high-octane action that is, unfortunately, impacted by shady business practices with regards to its downloadable content. World of Warcraft. The optimal massively multiplayer online role-playing game, World of Warcraft, at least in its classic format, presents an opportunity to lose yourself in a stellar fictional world, and it unquestionably succeeds. Super Smash Bros. Although the later titles in the series are better, I had to shout out the original game that is a top-of-the-line party title on the Nintendo 64. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. My first experience with a wrestling game, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 on the PlayStation Portable, supported my love for wrestling, despite its long loading times. It is time to shift focus to the golden list. Before we begin, there are 3 ground rules that I would like to review. First, the listed titles are ranked from my least favorite to my most favorite, but it does not mean that the lower ranked video games are bad. Secondly, I'm including the platform where I played each of the following games, as there are possible differences between the various versions of a given game. Lastly, I'm only including video games that I have reviewed on X or Twitter. If you do not see a game on my list, chances are that I have not reviewed it, or the game has received a lower score than the 100th spot on my list. As always, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section, as well as some recommendations for video games that I should check out. Without further ado, let's rank my top 100 favorite video games of all time. Number 100, Drums Rock. I have become a huge fan of rhythm-based games over the past several years, whether I'm completing the endless playlist in Rock Band 2 or practicing real guitar skills with Rocksmith 2014. Rhythm-based games offer a sense of fun that few other genres can match. Drums Rock came out of nowhere and blessed the PlayStation Virtual Reality 2 system with, in my opinion, a system seller. The song list is neat, the difficulty scaling makes you feel like a drummer, and the bosses are cool. There are also numerous pieces of downloadable content, some of which are quite surprising, like tracks from several unknown anime shows. The boss's inconsistent attack patterns can make them feel like a chore sometimes, but I overall had an amazing time with Drums Rock. If you have access to a platform that features Drums Rock, you are doing yourself a disservice for not checking it out. Number 99, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I used to play Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 religiously back in college, and it was a fantastic experience. I played the Wii version and I physically pretended to perform all of the moves, whether we are talking about Goku's Kamehameha or Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon. It was magical. Fans of Budokai Tenkaichi 3 have waited for nearly 2 decades before a hint of a sequel was ultimately teased in the form of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Thankfully, it turned out to be a faithful continuation of what made the Budokai Tenkaichi series great in the first place. An awesome roster of characters, plenty of unlockables, and stunning character designs and animations create a treat for any fan of the anime or the manga. Furthermore, the story mode includes interesting branching paths and what-if scenarios, similar to what the original Dragon Ball Z Budokai gave us back in 2002. Although the online modes do not feature crossplay and the cutscenes are inconsistent in terms of the quality, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is the successor to the Budokai Tenkaichi series that I wanted for the past 18 years. Number 98, The Last of Us Remake. One of the best narratives in the history of video games, the remake of The Last of Us takes the last PlayStation 3 exclusive game and improves its single-player experience in every conceivable way. The facial animations are some of the best I have seen in a video game, which add to a plot that will tug at your heartstrings. The inclusion of the Left Behind downloadable content with improved visuals is a nice touch as well. The soundtrack nicely complements the tone that is set by the events of the tale, and the AI receives a few nice tweaks that are heavily inspired by the title sequel. It was disappointing to discover that the remake would not include the Factions multiplayer mode, but I'm not a huge fan of multiplayer shooters anymore, so the exclusion did not personally affect me. The Last of Us Remake enhances an already incredible product, and will always be exemplary when it comes to a story about two strangers who attempt to survive a post-apocalyptic world. Number 97, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. If my opinion was purely based on nostalgia, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 would easily be in the top 5 favorite video games of all time. I remember a weekend when I had a sleepover at my friend's place, and I played Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 all night long. Not only do I have a childhood memory of this title, but Budokai 3 is fantastic in and of itself. The animations and visuals in general are stunning. The combat feels great, and the additions like Dragon Rush are certainly welcome. The RPG elements add incentive for post-game content, with several playable characters in the story mode. The cast of characters is fantastic. Do not get me started on the ultimate attacks, they are beyond gorgeous.
I'm here. Let's see you survive this one! You wanna go some more?
Purely based on nostalgia, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 is the perfect Dragon Ball Z video game. However, there's another Dragon Ball video game that holds the title as the IP's best. Nevertheless, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 is cinematic, memorable, and a contender for one of PlayStation 2's best exclusives. Number 96, Super Mario World. If there is a video game that represents Nintendo's impact on the gaming industry back in the 90s, it would be Super Mario World. The definition of classic fun, Super Mario World has everything that I want from a Mario game. Cool worlds, challenging platforming, power-ups that allow you to explore and discover secrets, and a final confrontation with the almighty Bowser. Also, who can forget the title's soundtrack? The only disappointing aspect of the title is the bosses, who are way too easy. Bowser himself offers nowhere near the difficulty of some of the level's platforming sections. Even so, it will never be a problem for me to turn on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, blow on the Super Mario World cartridge, and complete another playthrough of one of the best Mario video games in history. Number 95, Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals. The sequel to a game that will come later on this list, Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals absolutely lives up to its predecessor. The excellent voiceover performances are relatable, since the characters are normal human beings. The art design is thoroughly beautiful. The side quests are decent, and the game also includes multiple endings that add to the title's replayability. Sequels typically improve upon their predecessors. In this case though, I decided to place Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals under the original Oxenfree. Despite the narrative having some very high points, there are a few unresolved questions that ultimately lessen the impact of the story. Nonetheless, the sequel to Oxenfree is an easy recommendation, especially if you enjoyed the first title. Just make sure that you play the first Oxenfree game before you play Oxenfree 2 The Lost Signals, as the story threads are heavily connected. Number 94, God of War 2. The original God of War game was a solid first step in the coverage of Kratos' journey, but a few annoying levels and even more infuriating platforming sections prevent the trilogy from being present on this list in its entirety. Thankfully, the sequel, God of War 2, used the technological power of the PlayStation 2 to offer an incredible Greek tale and secure Kratos as one of PlayStation's powerhouses. The additional powers and boss fights were substantially improved from the original game. The soundtrack is fantastic, and the ending will undoubtedly get you excited for the trilogy's conclusion. The combat can be a bit repetitive, but I'm nitpicking an overall solid video game. There are a few other God of War games that we will discuss later in the countdown, yet the fact that God of War 2 is the quote-unquote worst God of War game on this list should only convince you that the franchise is a must-play. Number 93, NBA Street Showdown. I used to play the NBA video games from the early 2000s. While they were fun, upcoming titles and especially the recent NBA 2K video games in the past 5 years or so showed stagnation that made me steer away from anything related to basketball. Fortunately, I found a diamond in the rough with 2005's NBA Street Showdown on the PlayStation Portable. I've never played any of the NBA Street games, and my introduction to this deviation from professional basketball simulations was exciting. The basketball mechanics are enthralling, the create a character mode is challenging and addicting, and the soundtrack is simply exceptional. In addition, the animations are smooth, and the character models are solid for the most part. There is some discrepancy with the models, as some players look distinguishably better than others. Does it stop NBA Street Showdown from being a wonderful basketball game? No, not by a long shot. If you have a PlayStation Portable system and enjoy the sport on display, NBA Street Showdown is a must-own video game. Number 92, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Whether you're looking for a mindless hack-and-slash video game or an action title with an intriguing tale, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance may be your cup of tea. It stars a character from the Metal Gear Solid franchise, but you do not need to play the previous entries to keep up with the tale in Revengeance. Regardless, you will be too busy enjoying the incredible combat system that allows you to hone in on your sword skills and destroy your foes with deliberate and precise slashes. The boss fights in particular are some of the most thrilling bouts in the series. Furthermore, the narrative is cheeky, yet never overstates its welcome, the soundtrack is superb, and the difficulty consistently hits a sweet spot. Few camera issues aside, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance reminds me of old-school Transformers cartoons. The story is the background to the much more impactful and over-the-top action set pieces. Number 91, Halo Combat Evolved. My father came back from an overseas trip when I was a kid. Among the many gifts that he gave me and my brothers, the most unknown item was a CD in a sleeve with the title of a game called Halo Combat Evolved. I did not know anything about it, but I gave it a shot. As soon as I escaped the ship in the beginning of the game and landed on the Halo ring, I understood why Halo Combat Evolved is revered as one of the best first-person shooters of all time. The narrative is very interesting and keeps you invested. The semi-open world level designs are great. The voiceovers are serviceable. The gunplay is excellent. Halo Combat Evolved also implements a multiplayer component, and although I'm not the most skilled individual against other human opponents, I still enjoyed my fair share of warthog riding and rocket launcher firing. A few sections in the story mode hurt the campaign's pacing, but my experience with Halo Combat Evolved will always be filled with fond memories. Number 90, Mass Effect 2. Although the third entry in the series has a soft spot in my heart due to the emotional end to Commander Shepard's tale, Mass Effect 2 feels like the video game adaptation of Avengers: Infinity War, a narrative where the heroes are up against insurmountable odds and must congregate with other powerful beings who may not share the same ideals in order to defeat a universal threat. The first 15 minutes alone encapsulate one of the best introductions in gaming, and it's merely a fraction of the title's positive aspects. The presentation is stupendous, each character has his or her own unique personality, and the plot is exemplary in the sci-fi genre, whether we're talking about games, movies, or television shows. Furthermore, there are high stakes in the story, as certain decisions lead to the permanent death of key characters. You will have to deal with a tedious minigame to achieve the needed resources for the best conclusion, but Mass Effect 2 will make you question every decision from start to finish. If it's not a testament to the power of storytelling, I do not know what other evidence to present. Number 89, Portal 2. I'm normally not a fan of puzzle-based video games. Whenever I reach a section in a game and run around in circles for about 5 minutes, I typically resort to a guide, which defeats the purpose of the genre. Portal 2 is one of the exceptions to the rule. The original Portal was neat, but it felt like a tech demo that introduced the wormhole-like portal-based mechanics. Portal 2 operates on the same building blocks, but improves upon everything. The variety with the level design and physics-based gameplay is top-notch, the writing, included with a more fleshed-out narrative, is fantastic, and the ending is both exciting and surprising. There's also a nice amount of content with plenty of additional challenges. Admittedly, I was forced to resort to a guide for a few of the stages.
I wish to confess. I wish to confess.
Even so, Portal 2 joins the developer Valve's group of video game masterpieces. Number 88, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. If you're looking for a video game franchise that will represent the excitement that you get from watching the Indiana Jones films, Uncharted is for you. Encompassing a total of 6 games, in addition to a card-based title, Uncharted allows you to play the role of a cheeky Nathan Drake, who will climb difficult terrains, take out his foes lethally and in a non-lethal fashion, and develop relationships with the other stars of the franchise. Each game has its strengths and weaknesses, but the positive aspects of Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, especially in comparison with the previous title, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, completely overshadow its negative components. The set pieces are breathtaking, the voiceovers are great, the gameplay is engaging, and the narrative improves upon the original game, even if the antagonist is forgettable and lackluster. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is a cinematic experience, and it set the bar for all PlayStation 3 games upon its release. Number 87, Life is Strange. In a similar way to how Uncharted represents the Indiana Jones films, Life is Strange represents the genre of teenager drama. This comparison may deter you from checking out the game, but I implore you to give it a shot. Max and Chloe are interesting protagonists. Each of them has baggage that impacts their everyday life decisions. The exploration of their relationship comes together in a narrative that is surprising, heartbreaking, and full of life lessons about not taking anything in life for granted. The soundtrack is also the highlight of the game, as it's filled with plenty of relaxing indie songs that you may be tempted to add to your personal playlist. The other Life is Strange games are also worthy of a playthrough, but the original Life is Strange is one of the golden gooses of the series by a mile. Number 86, Marvel Spider-Man 2. My heart will always have room for Spider-Man on the PlayStation 1 and the Spider-Man game that is based on the first Sam Raimi's film about the web swinger. But the most recent title featuring the Marvel superhero, Spider-Man 2, is my favorite Spider-Man game of all time. It does not feature an expected co-op mode due to the inclusion of both Peter Parker and Miles Morales, yet I cannot deny the fun that I experienced with the game. The narrative is excellent and explores the idea of friendship and sacrifice, the presentation and voice acting are exceptional, and the combat is a blast, despite lacking in the department of the tech gear compared to 2018's Marvel Spider-Man. It is also too bad that the side content has not substantially improved from its predecessor. Nevertheless, Marvel Spider-Man 2 must be experienced by all fans of the heroic web swinger, and I'm very much looking forward to the trilogy's conclusion with Marvel Spider-Man 3. Number 85, Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection. My first experience with Tekken was its third entry, Tekken 3. I never owned an original PlayStation console, but I played the title through emulation and I was hooked from the get-go. Granted, my main character was Eddie Gordo, which many die-hard fans of the series consider as cheap and a blasphemy to the series. But I did not care. I loved executing long string combos with him. It did not take away from the other characters, which were fantastic, including Jin Kazama, Yoshimitsu, and King. Fast forward to the release of the PlayStation Portable and a question came to mind. Will Tekken be able to retain its gameplay on a handheld? There was a Tekken video game on the Game Boy Advance, but it understandably was not on the level of Tekken 3 due to the hardware limitations. Thankfully, Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection came out for the PlayStation Portable, and my previous question was answered. Cutscenes for each fighter's story, the impressive amount of content on display, and a steady 60 frames per second elevated the game to what I consider as the best fighting video game on the PlayStation Portable. In addition, the bowling mode was addicting. I spent much more time on it than I expected. Tekken 5 on the PlayStation 2 was a cool experience, and I'm glad that it was accurately translated during its transition to the PlayStation Portable as Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection. Number 84, What Remains of Edith Finch. The case of quantity versus quality has existed in the gaming community for quite some time. Do you prefer a 5-hour video game that you will not forget anytime soon? Or would you rather spend your money on a 100-hour video game that incorporates monotonous sections of collectible hunting, necessary level grinding, and a story that is not worth your time?
I was just kidding! Come on! You guys know I was just kidding, right?
What Remains of Edith Finch appeals to the former preference. Yes, it is unfortunate that it only lasts for around 2 hours after spending $20 on it, but I believe that the lessons that will be delivered during your time with What Remains of Edith Finch are well worth the asking price. The story is touching, its visualization during the different sub-stories is extremely creative, and the music is beautiful. Should you play What Remains of Edith Finch? Yes. Should you spend $20 on it? I would concur, but I will understand if you prefer to hold off to an eventual price drop. Number 83, My Friend Pedro. What happens if you take the Max Payne character, transform him into a cartoon character, and place him in a world that allows him to perform slow-mo movement and includes over-the-top design characters? You get My Friend Pedro, an indie that resembles a side-scrolling Max Payne experience. My Friend Pedro is an incredibly fun game. The visual designs are cool, the narrative is strange yet interesting, and the various difficulty levels add challenging twists. The game culminates in a final boss that is well worth the asking price alone. Despite an unmemorable soundtrack and a completely missed layup with the absence of a co-op mode, My Friend Pedro is not talked about enough in the gaming community, and hopefully this video will change this tragic scenario. Number 82, Heavy Rain. Quantic Dreams is a video game developer that is famously known for crafting titles where your story-based choices actively change the direction of the tale. Indigo Prophecy is their first attempt at demonstrating the impact of major story-based decisions, but the narrative was not gripping enough to warrant a playthrough. Their next game, however, completely flipped the company's reputation on its head. Heavy Rain incorporates an intense tale about a father-son relationship that resembles some of the more nightmare fuel episodes of the Law & Order television show. It was the first time where players were introduced to numerous branching paths that would guarantee clear distinctions between different playthroughs. In addition, the facial animation set a bar for video games at the time of the title's release, and the music was powerful and set the mood. There was a small section of the game where it was unclear where to go, but the narrative as a whole carries the game into my list of the top 100 favorite video games of all time. Number 81, Clubhouse Games 51 World Classics. A controversial pick on this list for sure, but hear me out. I'm a fan of board games, ranging from checkers, chess, and mahjong, despite my hatred of the latter in Yakuza Kiwami 2. The captivating aspect of Clubhouse Games 51 World Classics is that it allows you to play a visually appealing collection of, per the name, 51 classic board games ranging from blackjack, shogi, and solitaire. Each of them plays perfectly, and most of them allow you to play against other human opponents, whether locally or online. In case you are unsure about how to play one of the featured games, there are detailed tutorials that will guide you through the process step by step. There are a few board games that are notably missing, such as Rummy, Spades, and I Doubt It, but Clubhouse Games 51 World Classics is one of the best party games I have ever played on the Nintendo Switch. If you're a fan of board games, I cannot recommend this title enough. Number 80, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. When you play Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, You do not initially expect much from the story. You are placed in a school with a bunch of characters, each with their own unique personality. Suddenly, you are asked to meet the head of the school at the gymnasium, and it appears that a teddy bear is in charge of the school. What can go wrong with a teddy bear at the educational helm? Oh, you have no idea until you play Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc.
I want to play a game.
The plot is messed up, but will continuously engage you and keep you on your toes. Furthermore, the gameplay is rewarding, the music is wonderful, and the voiceovers are fantastic. I wish that the game was fully voiced, since there are many sections of dialogue where you are forced to read the text instead of listening to the voice actors. Fortunately, the writing is stellar, and I personally did not mind the reading assignment. Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc is a roller coaster of storytelling, and I guarantee that you will not be able to predict any storyline or the featured tale. Number 79, Astro's Playroom. When the PlayStation 4 was released on November 13, 2013, it was launched with a separately sold PlayStation camera and an experience called the Playroom. It gave us a glimpse of augmented reality, but it was solely a tech demo. When the PlayStation 5 was released on November 12, 2020, it included a free gift in the form of Astro's Playroom. Unlike the Playroom, Astro's Playroom is a short gaming experience that takes advantage of the new features of the PlayStation 5's controller, like adaptive triggers and haptic feedback, to create unique gameplay mechanics. In addition, the references that are sprinkled around the various levels will put a smile on any fan of the PlayStation brand. You'll be captivated by the charming environments, music, and characters, which, in return, will encourage you to unlock all the unlockables in the game. Astro's Playroom is not a full-fledged game, which is why I have to place it on the lower third of this list. Nevertheless, Astro's Playroom was a cool way to incentivize both new and veteran gamers to check out the PlayStation 5 and discover a next-generation experience. Number 78, Bastion. One of the cool aspects that you will immediately notice about Bastion is its presentation of the story. The majority of the tale is told from an individual in the background, who comments about the world around you, the characters with whom you interact, and you, the protagonist.
He sets foot inside one of Zealandia's famous watering holes. Inside's old Rondi, the bartender. The calamity got him before his drinking did.
It's an interesting delivery method for the plot, and it hooked me from the get-go as I ventured off and eliminated enemies with my series of weapons. Aside from the story, how is Bastion? Well, there are a few reasons as to why Bastion is on this list. The visual design and animations are great, the sound effects and music are catchy, the gameplay opens the door for experimentation, and Bastion provides intriguing incentives for subsequent playthroughs. While the pacing in the final stage is a bit slow, the adventure in Bastion definitely deserves at least one playthrough at some point during your time as a gamer. Number 77, The End is Nigh. The next two games were created by the same developer, Edmund Macmillan, and they are neck and neck in terms of quality. With that being said, I have more experience with the next title, so let's start with a video game that is great nonetheless. The End is Nigh is a challenging platform that asks you to move from one end of the level to the next without being hit by any source of danger. If you are unlucky, you must restart the stage from the beginning. It may sound frustrating, and I can certainly understand your perspective, but the sense of reward for completing each level, in addition to the tight gameplay mechanics, make up for any feeling of annoyance. There are other aspects that contribute to the fun factor of The End is Nigh. The narrator who gives us the lore is hilarious.
What? Oh, fuck.
The art style is great, and there is a good bang for the buck, with plenty of rewards for exploration. It is not the most memorable video game after everything is said and done, but your experience with The End is Nigh in the moment will not allow you to put down the controller until you complete to one more difficult stage. Number 76, Super Meat Boy. Despite playing it years after its initial release, Super Meat Boy offers a sense of reward that few platformers can match. It offers a simple story where you must rescue a princess from an evildoer. However, progressing through the levels will not be as easy as it seems. The characters may look cute, but the gameplay of Super Meat Boy might force you to despise them by the end of your playthrough. Each level implements obstacles to take you out of commission, And similar to The End Is Nigh, a single hit from an unwelcome factor will set you back to the beginning of the level. Thankfully, the game offers fantastic controls, wonderful difficulty pacing, and unlockables that change the way your character maneuvers throughout the levels. Once you beat the game, Super Meat Boy also offers quote-unquote dark versions of the beaten stages. But be forewarned, if you thought the initial playthrough was difficult, these dark worlds will humble you. Nevertheless, Super Meat Boy is a top-tier platformer that may not be for the faint of heart, but it will reward those players who venture into the danger zone. Number 75, God of War 3 Remastered. If you played the first God of War games and wanted to see Kratos get his hands on the Greek gods, you get your wish with God of War 3. I played the remastered version of the character's ending in Greek mythology, but it only enhanced the base game, which is already exciting. Kratos does not mess around in the third entry of the series, and his quest for vengeance comes in full display here. The visuals are stupendous, even by today's standards. The boss fights are unique and larger than life. The narrative closes off Kratos' trilogy in a well-written manner, despite the hint for a continuation at its end. Moreover, the soundtrack continues to excel, and it makes a light appearance in 2026's God of War Sons of Sparta. I have some disagreements with the conclusion's tale, and I believe that ultimately, the end did not justify the means. But God of War 3 Remastered kicks butt, and presents a neat way to experience Greek mythology in a badass way. Number 74, West of Dead. Have you ever wanted a roguelike video game featuring Ghost Rider? If so, you're in luck. The main character of West of Dead does not have all of Ghost Rider's abilities. In fact, he primarily shoots at his enemies. However, his design perfectly portrays one of Marvel's most interesting characters. Furthermore, he's voiced by the original Hellboy's actor, Ron Perlman, so it makes up for the lack of combat utilities. West of Dead is an excellent roguelike video game that punishes you during your initial playthroughs, but rewards perseverance with permanent upgrades and addictive power-ups. The game also has a unique art style, a story that keeps you motivated till the end, and procedurally generated levels that eliminate one playthrough from being identical to another. The odd aspect of the title is the music. When you can hear it, it's very good. With that being said, your traversal between different rooms is void of music, leaving you with sections that do not have any background audio. Regardless of this hindrance, West of Dead is an underrated indie title that will hopefully receive a sequel down the road. Number 73, No More Heroes 2. If I had only one word to describe the No More Heroes series, it would be as follows: crazy. You play the role of a regular guy who only wants to hook up with girls at the end of the day, but certain circumstances force him to transform into a hitman and take out ridiculously entertaining characters through creative boss fights. Each of the battles offers a sense of uniqueness that most action games lack in spades. No More Heroes 2 also eliminates the grind of the original title's gameplay and provides good character development for the protagonist, nice improvements to the shade-heavy visuals, and dual-wielding katanas. How can you ever complain about dual-wielding katanas? The ending to Trevor's Tale will leave you scratching your head, but the product as a whole caters to both veterans and newcomers of the action genre. Number 72, It Takes Two. It Takes Two is arguably one of the best cooperative video games of all time. Whether you're playing locally or online with another human being, you play one of two distinct characters, and each of them gains abilities throughout your experience that must coincide with your partner's abilities to progress through the beautifully crafted levels. Some of them can be overly cheesy, but most of them appropriately contribute to the story's impact. The backstory to your tale is emotional and relatable at the same time, since it talks about the importance of maintaining a healthy relationship with your partner. As you enter each level one by one, you also run into some fun minigames, my favorite of which being the tug-of-war activity. You have to find another player to experience It Takes Two, but your efforts will be bountiful and your relationship with your gaming partner will improve as a result of it. Number 71, Cairn. My current game of the year for 2026 is also one of my favorite video games of all time. On the surface, Karen is a rock climbing simulator. While controlling the main character's 2 legs and 2 arms, you slowly ascend a tall, natural structure while trying to prove to yourself that you still have what it takes to live up to your fans' expectations. However, Karen is much more than a rock climbing simulator. The wonderful lore on display here exemplifies a sense of discovery that we all yearn for in life, as you will uncover different aspects of a hidden civilization. It is one of the many reasons why I appreciate Karen as a video game. In addition to the plot, the visual and audio designs are superb, the exploration is incredibly rewarding, and the challenge never feels cheap, especially with a rewind feature that is available on the lower difficulty settings. Yes, there are a few frame rate dips and the controls can be tricky at first, but do not let these 2 nitpicks deter you away from a fantastic indie experience. Check out Karen when you have a chance. You will not regret your purchase. I promise you. Number 70, Ori and the Blind Forest. Artists do not get enough credit in the video game industry, and Ori and the Blind Forest is a perfect example to that fact. From the very first moment you boot up the game, Ori and the Blind Forest is visually breathtaking. Whether it is the environmental design, the animations, or the character models, everything about this game's visuals is pure eye candy. Thankfully, it is not the only positive aspect of the title. The musical score is equally as awe-inspiring as the graphics and nicely complements it. Furthermore, the exploration is rewarding, the gameplay is satisfyingly challenging, the narrative hits several emotional marks, and the final sequence is a great test of all the skills you have learned throughout your adventure. I'm still beating myself up for not trying the sequel, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, but it may end up in the next update of my top 100 favorite video games of all time, if it is even slightly better than Ori and the Blind Forest. Number 69, Dead Space 2. I have been on a mission to convince many gamers to play the original Dead Space, and even more so its remake. The first Dead Space is a terrifying video game that places you on a space station where you must fend off fast and furious monsters. If it was up to me, I would easily place it on this list. With that being said, there's no denial that its sequel, Dead Space 2, is a better product as a whole. The atmosphere is more horrific than ever. There's one scene in particular that will give you PTSD whenever you visit the optometrist from here on out. The audio design is exceptional. Isaac finally has a voice, which was not present in the original game, and adds some personality to the protagonist. There are also more guns and suits than the first title in the series. Dead Space 2 is crazy from start to finish, and a remake of it has the potential to be the scariest video game of all time. Number 68, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, ironically, is the epitome of a famous saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You spend the first 30 minutes while reading dialogue about a group of girls in a school who want to have fun and become popular. However, you complete your first playthrough shortly afterwards with a tragedy. The credits roll and it seems like your time with Doki Doki is over. Needless to say, you only experience a taste of the plot. Once you start another playthrough, the scenes play out differently, and the repetition of this process reveals a narrative with multiple choice-based storylines that are absolutely fantastic. The story will consistently catch you off guard and conclude in a way that you will not see coming. Moreover, there are several endings, and the horror is built on suspense like 1999's The Blair Witch Project, as opposed to jump scares like 2007's Paranormal Activity. Would voiceovers substantially improve the storytelling in Doki Doki Literature Club Plus? 100%. Even so, the game's plot is a convincing reason on its own to try out Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Number 67, Golf Club Nostalgia. I remember playing these early 2000s mini golf games such as 2004's Crazy Mini Golf. They were basic, but they gave me the same sensation that I have whenever I put a golf ball inside a hole on a golf course. Golf Club Nostalgia takes a different approach. As opposed to offering a set of basic golf courses, the game takes place in a post-apocalyptic Earth, where every human being has left the planet with the exception of you, the protagonist. Why did they leave? What is your mission? You will discover the answers to both of these questions while completing progressively complex golf courses that nicely utilize different objects such as cars, escalators, and pipelines to impede your progress. It sounds like it's not a big deal, but it's an experience unlike any other that you played in 2021. It does not only have one of the best audio designs in any indie game, but its exceptional level design keeps the game fresh despite the insinuation that it is a mini golf simulator. Furthermore, the visuals are slick across the board, and the story is interesting, which ends with a nice send-off. There are a few moments when two sets of dialogue take place simultaneously, and it's hard to understand both speakers, but they do not hinder a generally epic gaming experience in golf club nostalgia. Number 66, Metal Hellsinger. Take the crazy movement and first-person shooting mechanics of Doom Eternal. Now combine it with a typical rhythm game like the Jungle Book Rhythm and Groove, where the timing of your button presses is essential. The result is the 66th game on my list, Metal Hellsinger. Metal Hellsinger plays like your typical first-person shooter, but there is a massive exception. You earn more points and progress through the levels more smoothly if you shoot your enemies to the beat of the music. It may appear to be a hassle to play, but it works in a marvelous way. The gameplay is extremely fun, the enemy variety is great, and the inclusion of challenge rooms is cool. There is also a spot-on soundtrack on display, which includes catchy metal songs such as Through You by Michael Stan and Dark Tranquillity, as well as Dissolution by Jorn Speed Strid and Soilwork. The structure of the boss fights leaves something to be desired, but Metal Hellsinger is the best combination of rhythm games such as Guitar Hero and first-person shooters like 2016's Doom. Number 65, Blasphemous 2. A horror-based Metroidvania game sounds like a shoe-in for success, and Blasphemous 2 fits the description. We will see its prequel later on this list, but let us talk about what makes Blasphemous 2 so special. Unlike the first title, Blasphemous 2 does not only have the more challenging roster of bosses, but it allows you to play around with 3 different weapons, each of which has its ups and downs. In addition, the presentation is exceptional, the difficulty is demanding, yet generally fair, and the narrative is captivating and beaming with lore. There are also more bonuses and power-ups in the first Blasphemous game, which is a nice treat. The main reason that Blasphemous 2 has this specific spot on this list is what frustrates me with difficult action games: handicapped fights. The earliest victim of this trope that I have seen is a certain fight in the original Dark Souls, but Blasphemous 2 features certain bosses that ask you to beat more than one enemy at the same time. It is not impossible, but the title's design and the confinement of the stage where you fight the boss does not support you well during those handicapped bouts. Even so, Blasphemous 2 gave me many moments of satisfaction, and the downloadable content, mea culpa, only adds content to an already sweet video game. Number 64, Astral Chain. It is rare for Nintendo to take a gander at a new IP, let alone a new franchise that caters to the company's more adult-oriented audience. I'm happy to report that Astral Chain, which is an exclusive title on the Nintendo Switch, was a hit success for yours truly. It is a combat game at heart, but it allows you to summon certain allies to help you execute visually impressive combos. The boss fights in particular are superb, and will keep you second guessing with their own respective combos.
Well, this is my game. This is my game of the year, dog. Nope.
The game also features an intense narrative with a few cool twists, a memorable soundtrack, and several incentives to keep you coming back, such as RPG mechanics, endgame content, and a ranking system. The conclusion of its tale is admittedly a bit confusing, but I truly hope that Astral Chain will inevitably receive a sequel on the Nintendo Switch too. It could very well join the ranking of amazing Nintendo IPs like Mario and Pokemon. Number 63, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. I remember going down the hallway at my apartment complex to my neighbor, whose daughter, and also classmate at an elementary school, owned an original PlayStation console. During one of our hangouts, we played Crash Bandicoot Warped, the third entry in the series. It was challenging, addicting, and most importantly, fun. When I started to work on this video, I expected to place either the original Crash Bandicoot Warped or its remake on this list. Nevertheless, I cannot place it on this list when the fourth iteration, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, released in 2020 and cemented itself as the best Crash Bandicoot video game of all time. The amount of unlockables is splendid, the mask-based system is neat, the presentation is beautiful, and the gameplay is as fun as the classic Crash Bandicoot video games. A few of the levels presented a difficulty spike, but Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is a worthy entry in the series, both for newcomers and veteran fans of Crash Bandicoot. Number 62, Dragon Ball Kai Ultimate Butoden. Yes, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has a much larger roster than the list of characters in this game. Yes, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 is more visually appealing than the graphical design of the 62nd title on this list. Nevertheless, Dragon Ball Kai Ultimate Butoden is so much more than those two features. It may be a hot take, but Dragon Ball Kai Ultimate Butoden is my favorite Dragon Ball Z video game of all time. Its story incorporates cutscenes, which most Dragon Ball Z games completely avoid. The combat requires strategy, unlike most Dragon Ball Z video games where you can mostly bypass with mashing buttons. Other positive aspects of the game include a beautiful art style, exceptional ultimate attacks, and plenty of content to discover and unlock. It falls under the umbrella of most Dragon Ball Z games in a sense that base combat mechanics do not change between characters, but it's criminal that most gamers have not heard about Dragon Ball Kai Ultimate Butoden due to its exclusivity in Japan. Fortunately, I got my hands on it, which ultimately led to its placement on the list of my top 100 favorite video games of all time. Number 61, Rayman Legends. I have a love-hate relationship with Rayman Legends. Let's start with the negative news. Due to poor choices on my end, I earned the Platinum Trophy for Rayman Legends on 3 separate occasions. If you are aware of the process of earning the title's Platinum Trophy, you may know that it takes around 3 months of consistent daily sessions due to the multiplayer trophies. By the time I earned the Platinum Trophy for the 3rd time, I vowed to never touch Rayman Legends again. Nonetheless, this placement did not stop me from placing the title on this list. There's no question in my mind as to which title is the best Rayman video game in the series. It is not a close call. The animations are spectacular, the song stages set the standard for the platforming genre, the perpetual unlocks encourage self-improvement, and the inclusion of daily and weekly challenges in addition to some levels from Rayman Origins are appreciated. The final world is a bit disappointing because it's a collection of the final stages from each world with some modifications, but Rayman Legends was a blast from start to finish, despite my issues with its Platinum Trophy. Number 60, Halo Infinite. Although many die-hard fans of Halo play the series for its gameplay, including yours truly, I was only a part of that group until Halo 4. Halo 4's narrative, focusing on the relationship between the protagonist Master Chief and his AI companion Cortana, was enticing and touching in certain moments. Halo 5 had the potential to continue the tale with the same level of quality, but only a third of it touched upon the conclusion of Halo 4, as the rest of the game was spent with a new character that was not remotely as interesting as Master Chief. Halo Infinite returns back to formula, both with its level design and its story. The former caters to Halo Combat Evolved, the original title in the series, while the narrative ditches the other Spartan that was introduced in Halo 5 and solely focuses on Master Chief and his connection to Cortana. Moreover, the visuals are beautiful, the sound design is on par with the other Halo titles, the gunplay is a lot of fun, both online and offline, and the main story is great. The biggest downfall of Halo Infinite falls on its multiplayer component, which was bare-boned at release and has been marred with battle passes. Even so, I am not particularly picky with my preferences for the most optimal multiplayer experience. Halo Infinite's online content, in addition to its campaign, succeeded with a task that is difficult to accomplish: be nostalgic and modern at the same time. Number 59, Super Mario Odyssey. I did not have access to a Nintendo console during the era when Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy were prominent in their respective years. My parents purchased my brothers and I a Nintendo Wii in 2009, but Super Mario Galaxy was not in my eyesight at the time due to a game that will come later on this list. As a result, I focused on the 2D Mario video games for the majority of my time as a gamer, including but not limited to the aforementioned Super Mario World. It came as a shocker then when Super Mario Odyssey landed on the Nintendo Switch and my idea for the perfect Mario video game was set in stone by Super Mario Odyssey for quite some time. Stunning presentation, an incredible use of collectibles that focuses on creativity, appropriately scaled difficulty, and a few neat surprises culminated in a new standard for future Mario video games. You can spend hours and hours with the game, only to discover a surprise that would have never grabbed your attention if you stayed on the beaten path. There are a few secret levels that serve as a difficulty spike, but Super Mario Odyssey, in my opinion, is the best semi-open world Mario video game and a Nintendo Switch system seller. Number 58, The Rogue, Prince of Persia. I've been a fan of the Prince of Persia series since 2003's release of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. The Prince was a very charismatic character, and both the platforming mechanics and the time rewind features gave the IP its own unique flavor. Since then, I played the rest of the trilogy with Warrior Within and the Two Thrones, 2008's reboot of Prince of Persia, and the recent title that attempted to revitalize the franchise while dipping its toe in the Metroidvania subgenre, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. After completing all of those games and removing nostalgia out of the equation, I reached the following conclusion. The best Prince of Persia video game of all time is the one that took the biggest risk. The Rogue Prince of Persia was initially launched as an early access title on Steam, but later released in 2025 in its true form. The Rogue Prince of Persia has all of the staple features of Prince of Persia: engaging combat, an engrossing protagonist, and wonderful platforming mechanics. Unlike the previous entries in the series, the Rogue Prince of Persia takes the time rewind features and flips them on their head. You cannot freely rewind time. Instead, the death of your character rewinds time and allows you to restart from the beginning, akin to the roguelike and roguelike subgenres. The roguelike mechanics certainly change your approach to handling the prince, but the title's implementation of his acrobatics within a Metroidvania and the awesome unlockable weapons, abilities, and costumes elevate the Rogue Prince of Persia above any other title in the series. Number 57, God of War Ragnarok. God of War 3 is the best mainline video game in the Greek mythology era, and God of War Ragnarok is the best mainline title in the Norse mythology era. With that being said, why is Ragnarok better than the third entry in the series? God of War 3 set the bar for boss fights in the series, but Ragnarok surpasses the third entry in the series in every other way. Let's break it down. Kratos is no longer an angry Terminator-like character. He is a caring father whose relationship with his son, Atreus, is the centerpiece of the story in Ragnarok, and it unquestionably excels. The characters are fantastic across the board. The combat system is wonderful and offers experimentation. The presentation pushed the PlayStation 5 to new heights. The ending is extremely emotional, especially as someone who values his relationship with his father to the highest regard. God of War Ragnarok is not the best title in the series, but it is undeniably the best console-based God of War video game of all time, and one that you must experience if you own a PlayStation 5. Number 56, Call of Duty Black Ops. Whereas the original Call of Duty is nostalgic for me, and 2007's Modern Warfare was influential to the entire video game industry, I have not enjoyed Call of Duty as much as I did with Call of Duty Black Ops. Whether we are talking about the mind-boggling campaign with its engaging narrative and its cool twists, the stupendous multiplayer experience, which included the ability to play against bots, or the wonderful zombies mode that implemented addictive co-op gameplay mechanics, the original Black Ops has something for everyone. Although it is an Easter egg, Call of Duty Black Ops also includes Dead Ops Arcade, which plays like a classic arcade game, and it's refreshing to say the least. It would have been cool to see a semblance of a story in the zombies mode, and the song that was played in the end credits section of Black Ops campaign as well. Odd. But Call of Duty Black Ops is my favorite Call of Duty video game of all time, and I do not believe that any upcoming Call of Duty game will ever top it, especially if the most recent Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is an indication for the quality of future titles in the series. Number 55, Halo 3. One of the primary reasons to purchase an Xbox 360 back in 2007, Halo 3 was a tremendous way to cap off the trilogy with the heroic Master Chief. Due to the hardware jump between the original Xbox and the Xbox 360, it is no surprise that the visuals and sound design are greatly improved from the title's predecessor, Halo 2. Furthermore, there are nice and appreciated additions to the gameplay like the equipment system, and the story further develops the relationship between Master Chief and Cortana. It does not do it to the extent of Halo 4, but it does enough to move the plot along in the right direction. The multiplayer was also bombastic and a ton of fun, with additional maps and weapons to boot. If Halo 4 never came out, Halo 3 will be a proper conclusion to the series, especially with the secret ending that you unlock by beating the title on its hardest difficulty, Legendary. Even with the lack of any new enemy types, there is no denying the impact that Halo 3 made on the gaming industry, and as such, I must include it on my personal list of the best of the best. Number 54, Returnal. Returnal is not only a challenging video game, but it falls under the roguelike subgenre. If you die at any point, you start from an early part of the game and lose all of your items. Does it entice you to check out Returnal? Maybe. The casual gamer would most likely stray away from it. At the same time, I highly recommend that you give it a shot. Despite the difficulty, the gunplay and the constant sense of reward and personal progression will create a situation where every run in Returnal is worthwhile, even if you lose and must restart from either the first or fourth areas of the game. The feeling of dodging hundreds of beautifully animated bullets and landing the last shot to take down a foe is why the bullet hell subgenre is very prominent in the gaming community. In addition to the gameplay, the enemy designs are well done, the sound design is exceptional, and the narrative is intriguing with a couple of mind-bending endings. Its placement in the roguelike genre may not be some gamer's cup of tea, but Returnal is a top-tier indie turned AAA title that, in my opinion, warrants a purchase of the PlayStation 5 console. It's that good. Number 53, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X may be the most iconic Final Fantasy titles in the series, but Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is my favorite Final Fantasy game. Aside from the fact that it was my introduction to the series while playing the PlayStation Portable, Zack is an intriguing character that starts off as a mere soldier who only wishes to reach the ranks and infamy of the iconic villain Sephiroth. I'm bringing up the antagonist of the classic Final Fantasy VII not only because he's featured in Crisis Core, but his backstory is explored here and it's fascinating. The entire plot is gripping and sprinkled with emotional moments, especially the ending that will not be spoiled here. Putting the narrative to the side, the gameplay is spot on with a cool slot machine system, the soundtrack is awesome, and there's plenty of side content to check out. A lot of the side content does not pertain to the overall story, but it gives you a reason to slash base enemies and a few secret boss fights. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is easily my favorite Final Fantasy game of all time, and the only title that may take its place in the future is Final Fantasy VI, since I've heard from multiple sources that its story is impeccable. Only time will tell if the statement holds any sort of truth. Number 52, Persona 4 Golden. Early in this video I talked about Doki Doki Literature Club Plus and referenced a certain phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover." The same quote can be applied with Persona 4 Golden, which is an expansion of Persona 4 from the PlayStation 2 and used to be an exclusive of the PlayStation Vita. You play as a teenager who arrives in a new town and immediately begins his new life as a student. You meet several interesting characters who will be your companions for the remainder of your adventure. Suddenly you hear crackling noises from the TV in your bedroom, similar to old school televisions back in the day that lost reception from their antennas. Before you know it, you are sucked into the television and become a titular hero who fights monsters with these beings called personas. From that point onward, you're injected into one hell of a story with enough twists and turns to make your head spin. Thankfully, the plot is accompanied by catchy music, fantastic bosses, both regular and secret foes, and a persona system that is flexible and engaging. It is a shame that the true ending can be cryptic to achieve without a guide. If you do not perform specific actions throughout your experience, you will automatically earn the bad ending and complete your journey prematurely. Nevertheless, Persona 4 Golden as a whole was a system seller for the PlayStation Vita, and it still holds the title as my favorite game in the series. Even though Persona 5 Royal is another fantastic choice that came very close to snatching Persona 4 Golden's spot on this list away from it. Number 51, Bioshock Infinite. Bioshock Infinite is a thought-provoking experience. While the original Bioshock is wonderful in its own right, Bioshock Infinite did something that most video games are incapable of executing. When I beat Bioshock Infinite for the first time and experienced its ending, I just stared at my screen for a solid minute while the credits rolled. Bioshock Infinite's finale features several reveals that caught me off guard, and it transformed a good video game into a title that is exemplary with its storytelling. In addition to the story, the visuals and song selections are beautiful, the voice acting is very good, and the AI and shooting mechanics work pretty well. There are a few annoying backtracking sections, especially in the harder difficulty settings, but Bioshock Infinite raises a few morale questions that only enhances the experience and ranks it as one of the best first-person shooters in existence. Number 50, Pokemon Soul Silver. The amount of money that I will give for a remake of Pokemon Soul Silver is obscene. Yes, it's already a remake of 1999's Pokemon Silver on the Game Boy Color, but I don't place a remake of a remake out of the realm of possibility in today's gaming landscape. That's besides the point. Let's talk about the current product. Pokemon Soul Silver is jam-packed with content. It's an insane value for the buck, with the inclusion of 16 gym badges as opposed to 8 of them, and a final boss that will be a treat for fans of the Pokemon IP. Furthermore, the gameplay is addicting for fans of role-playing games, and the music nicely complements the tougher trainers. The worst part about Pokemon Soul Silver is not so much the game itself, it's the current asking price. You will be lucky to find a copy of Pokemon Soul Silver for less than $60. It was definitely worth the $60 at launch, but it's a game from 2009, which should be cheaper by now. Nevertheless, Pokemon Soul Silver stumps on every Pokemon video game in existence, but a remake of it could potentially return the IP to my top 5 favorite video games of all time. Number 49, Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock was a huge part of my teenhood. At a time when I was interested in learning how to play a real guitar, I did not have a guitar on standby. Luckily, my parents purchased us a Nintendo Wii in 2009, and I was gifted a Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock Wii Bundle Edition for my birthday. It would never substitute a real guitar, but it gave me a fictional outlet to play the part of a rock star with a collection of songs that is almost pitch perfect. Whether you're playing Barracuda by heart, Cult of Personality by Living Color, or even Flow by Pro Jam. You'll be having a grand old time with the game. The difficulty scaling is fantastic, with easy mode only utilizing the first 3 buttons on the guitar controller, and expert mode asking you to run like Speedy Gonzales on the fretboard with all of the colored buttons. The title also features cool guitar battles and entertaining multiplayer modes, as well as nice customization options and plenty of unlockables. Regardless of your real-life experience with a guitar or lack thereof, Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock will allow you to play the dream of being a rock and roll superstar, and its impact on my teenhood leaves me no choice but to place the title on this list. Number 48, Life is Strange Before the Storm. Life is Strange Before the Storm is the prequel to 2015's Life is Strange, which we already covered in this video. Although I love the first Life is Strange title and the relationship between Max and Chloe, the latter character was, personally, the star of the show, so it was interesting to see her backstory with another important character in the franchise, Rachel, in Before the Storm. All the niceties of the original Life is Strange are present here. Decent visuals, exceptional soundtrack, and a story that will put you on an emotional roller coaster. Though the prequel has 3 episodes instead of 5 episodes, Life is Strange Before the Storm's plot is enough of a reason to experience the game and further prove the power of great storytelling. Number 47, South Park: The Fractured But Whole. When you compare television shows and movies to their gaming counterparts, it is clear which product originated on your TV or at the movie theater, and which item was first available as a gaming experience. Both South Park: The Stick of Truth and South Park: The Fractured But Whole changed the trend. If I show a cutscene from either game and a clip from the television show, most folks will find it difficult to identify the television show and the video game. The inability to distinguish between the two products alone elevates South Park: The Stick of Truth and South Park: The Fractured But Whole above and beyond any video game that features the IP. Needless to say, South Park: The Fractured But Whole surpasses its predecessor for a single reason: the gameplay. The gameplay in Stick of Truth was a basic turn-based role-playing game that worked for the time, but lacked complexity. The gameplay in Fractured But Whole, on the other hand, is a more tactical strategy game that allows you to experiment with different builds, particularly in the form of powers that you acquire at the beginning of the game. They do not matter in the grand scheme of things, since you will acquire all of them by the title's conclusion, but its initial impression offers some sort of replayability. The game also features top-notch humor and a story that is constantly engaging throughout your journey. South Park: The Fractured But Whole is a dream come true for fans of the series, but be forewarned, if you do not like South Park and its humor, you will not enjoy this game. Just make sure you appropriately check your expectations before playing South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Number 46, Telltale: The Wolf Among Us. Telltale: The Wolf Among Us takes lovable fairy tales like Little Red Riding Hood and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and places them in a gritty world where crime is abundant and they are moments away from having their normal lives be abruptly halted in a negative way. Bigby Wolf, the main protagonist, is a detective who is called at the beginning of the game to settle a dispute between a couple. What here the players do not know at the time is how the simple confrontation will create a snowball effect that will conjure one of the best stories in gaming. It's a self-contained plot that arguably does not need a continuation, which lessens the blow of the sequel's placement in gaming purgatory. The story is supported by slick visuals, excellent voice acting performances, and numerous story-based choices that will not only alter the tale's outcome, but your relationship with the other characters in the game. Telltale's The Wolf Among Us is the company's best second title, and I hope that the already announced Season 2 will see the light of day in the near future. Number 45, Dreams. Even though Dreams features a fantastic story mode, the title is much more than a traditional gaming experience. Instead, it's essentially a creation suite with an unparalleled sense of creativity. You can create any title that you set your mind to, ranging from horror games, first-person shooters, or sports titles. The amount of tools to design your own experience is insane, and it's a major selling point of the title. You will not be able to create video games that are in the vicinity of AAA or the more well-known indie titles in terms of quality, but Dreams offers an opportunity to be a kid again and explore your own creativity. This aspect alone motivated me to place the title on my list. Number 44, Evoland, Legendary Edition. Evoland is the most unique role-playing game that I have ever played. It does not have the storytelling of Mass Effect 3. It does not have the visuals of Final Fantasy 15. Nonetheless, it has creativity in spades. It's a collection of both Evoland and Evoland 2, and each of them is completely different from one another. The second Evoland is a decent experience that plays like an old-school role-playing game, such as Chrono Trigger. The first Evoland, however, is the reason as to why Evoland Legendary Edition is one of my favorite video games of all time. When you start the game, you will notice that you are unlocking abilities that are taken for granted in today's gaming standards. You will unlock the ability to move up and down. You will unlock the ability to attack your foes. You will unlock the ability to save your game. It's such a genius way to show the evolution of role-playing games over the years. By the time you reach the title's ending, you'll partake in an action role-playing combat system while looking at 3D visuals from the original PlayStation console. Evoland Legendary Edition is a must-play for any fans of role-playing games, and a high recommendation to gamers in general. Number 43, God of War: Ghost of Sparta. When I talked about Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, I praised the jump that it made from its prequel, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. I am mentioning this comparison to explain why I have an unusual pick for my favorite God of War video game of all time. God of War Chains of Olympus was released in 2008 for the PlayStation Portable, and it was a solid handheld experience featuring the always angry Kratos. 2 years later, God of War Ghost of Sparta was released, and it surprised the hell out of me. It represented such a massive jump from Chains of Olympus to the point that it scored several brownie points on my scale prior to diving deep into the story. Needless to say, nostalgia and first impressions are only a small portion of the product's critique. How is the rest of the game? The story wonderfully develops Kratos as a character, in addition to his relationship to his brother, Deimos. The gameplay offers variation that is only comparable to God of War 2 on the PlayStation 2. The boss fights are engrossing and push the hardware to its limits. There are cool throwbacks and connections to the original God of War, which give the players more context for what transpired in the title. I cannot talk highly enough about God of War Ghost of Sparta. My nitpick with it is the potential for improved enemy variety, but the monsters on display here are enough to never force me to say to myself, this game bores me. God of War Ghost of Sparta eclipses other titles in the series, and it's easily a system seller for the PlayStation Portable. That is, until the God of War Collection was released on the PlayStation 3. Hey, at least you have two legal methods to experience the masterpiece. Number 42, Knockout League. One of the most well-known video games in the original Nintendo Entertainment System is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. The premise is simple. You fight foe after foe in a boxing ring, while bobbing left and right and slowly draining your opponent's health until he or she cannot get up from the mat. Fast forward 3 decades later, and Knockout League is released on the PlayStation Virtual Reality system. Yes, it's a game that utilizes virtual reality, but hear me out. Knockout League is a perfect representation of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in the virtual reality space. The different opponents have unique power-ups and strategies to take you down. The characters and arenas are nicely designed. There are several fun mini-games that keep you on your feet. If anything, Knockout League is a fun way to burn some calories. It may have a cliché story, but Knockout League is one of the many reasons to try out virtual reality. I hope that you're ready though. The final opponents will test your cardiovascular endurance. Train well and go kick ass with Knockout League on the PlayStation Virtual Reality system. Number 41, Aliens vs Predator. Alien Isolation is the best representation of the xenomorph in a video game. The AI of the creature is industry leading, and the gameplay is consistently stressful.
What you gonna do? Gonna burn your ass alive.
Nevertheless, you are playing as a human being, not the bloodthirsty xenomorph. The most recent video game that allows you to play as the alien is Aliens Colonial Marines, but the product as a whole is a topic of conversation that I'd rather avoid. Instead, I would like to highlight an older product that not only places you in the shoes of a xenomorph, but also allows you to play as its arch rival, the Predator. Aliens vs Predator, unlike the movie, is a love letter to fans of both Aliens and the Predator that works well. Whether you're sneaking around and involuntarily asking scared humans to stay still while a facehugger attacks them, or whether you're lining up a laser shot from hundreds of yards out. The gameplay in Aliens vs Predator is great. In addition, the multiplayer is expansive and rewarding, and the atmosphere and environmental design are incredible for the time of the title's release. The finale to the Aliens campaign is a bit of a letdown, but it cannot slow down Aliens vs Predator from making its way to the 41st spot on my list. Number 40, The Pedestrian. Throughout this video, you may have noticed that I give extra points for titles that show some sort of creativity, whether it's Dreams, Evoland Legendary Edition, or It Takes Two. On the surface, The Pedestrian could give you some bad vibes due to the fact that you play as the stick figure that you normally see inside streetlights. Fortunately, The Pedestrian's initial impression is merely an obstacle that you overcome to discover an incredible video game. You play as the stick figure from the streetlights, yes, but the creativity on display is awe-inspiring. As you move through the exceptional environmental design that incorporates unique puzzle mechanics, you will slowly but surely appreciate the goals of the developers and come to a mutual understanding with someone, aka me, who decided to place The Pedestrian on a list of their favorite video games. The soundtrack is beautiful and soothing, the difficulty gradually increases over time but never feels overbearing, and there's an interesting mix of walking and puzzle solving. The ending is a bit bittersweet, but you will earn a sense of accomplishment that you have not experienced in a while, assuming that you did not use any guides, of course. The Pedestrian was one of the best video games in 2021, and one that I will recommend to anyone who wants to see a visual representation of creativity within a video game. Number 39, Oxenfree. I warned you that the prequel to Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals, will make an appearance on this list. Well, here we are. Released in 2016, Oxenfree stars a group of friends who travel to an island and spend the evening on the beach while gossiping and talking about the topics that interest typical teenagers. After half an hour, your immersion of Oxenfree will shift, and you will be seated to experience a tale that combines fictional with non-fictional concepts. The plot is accompanied by a mesmerizing environment with gorgeous visuals and sound design, and it concludes with a satisfying ending. It also benefits from exceptional voice acting performances, multiple endings, and pacing that is relatively smooth. Similar to its sequel, Oxenfree's finale will leave you with a few unanswered questions. Nevertheless, Oxenfree is a very good video game, and it's another shining example as to why I'm intrigued by indie video games. Number 38, Gears 5. Another blasphemous pick as the top title in the series, Gears 5 stands head and shoulder above Gears of War 1 through 4, and especially above Gears of War Judgment. Here's why. The narrative is intriguing and culminates in one hell of a final act. The characters have in-depth personalities and receive further characterization and emotions after the title's prequel, Gears of War 4. The gameplay in every mode sets the bar for the franchise in terms of responsiveness, gunplay, and fluidity of the movement. The visuals showcase next-generation spectacular graphics. Gears 5 also includes semi-open world levels, which is such a refreshing inclusion to the series. These stages offer rewards for exploration, such as additional upgrades to your mechanical companion. Gears of War 2 has top-tier gameplay and Gears of War 3 has a sensational plot, but Gears 5 has both, leading it on the path to my list of the top 100 favorite video games of all time. At this point, I just hope that Gears of War 6 will eventually release and conclude the storylines that were established in Gears of War 4 and further developed in Gears 5. Number 37, Solar Ash. In the earlier part of the PlayStation 3's lifecycle, a small indie game called Journey came into the scene and blew the minds of many gamers. It places you in the shoes of a mysterious figure as you glide on sand and eventually scale up a mountain with another companion, only to find out that the other companion is a real human player. It was a revolutionary experience for its time, but the core gameplay mechanics failed to make a big enough impression on me to place it on this list. Solar Ash may not have the twist of Journey's ending, but the title's gameplay mechanics make up for the lacking shocker. As part of your experience with Solar Ash, you glide through the levels and explore unfamiliar terrain. Unlike Journey, your control of the character is not only for traversal and platforming. The game offers a slew of boss fights that are incredibly fun and have a sense of scale that has not been seen since Shadow of the Colossus on the PlayStation 3. In addition to the cool gameplay, the story is interesting, the animation and the soundtrack are superb, and there are nice incentives for collectibles. The price at launch was a bit too steep, but a pickup of Solar Ash at a discount is a no-brainer. Get on it, trust me. Number 36, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. We all remember the classic beat-em-up side-scrolling video games of the good days. Whether it's 1989's Final Fight, 1993's The Punisher, or 1992's X-Men. These video games present scenarios where you enter a section of the stage, beat up those who are foolish enough to stand in your way, and continue with the next stage of the level. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is the next iteration within the subgenre, and it's absolutely divine. As Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, or Leonardo, you will bust out a series of martial arts-based movements to take your enemies out of commission with style and finesse. The art style is a combination of retro and modern visuals, which certainly help the title's case. You can play the game by yourself or online with other human players, and the entire experience comes together to create the best beat-em-up title I've ever played. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is an exciting opportunity to relive the classic beat-em-up video games while playing a more recent example of the genre. Number 35, Child of Light. When you think about the publisher Ubisoft, you typically focus on their big-time players such as Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell, and Ghost Recon. All of those IPs are fantastic, with my favorite entries being Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the original Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell Blacklist, and Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Although all of those games and franchises are certainly praiseworthy, it's important to celebrate the smaller series that do not receive nearly as much attention as their big brothers. With that being said, let's talk about my 35th favorite video game of all time, Child of Light. Child of Light, without underselling it, is a work of art. Everything from the level design to the animations to the character models to the lighting are breathtaking. Moreover, the gameplay pays tribute to old-school role-playing video games, and the story is heartwarming. Voiceovers would have positively impacted the game, but their absence should not turn you away from placing the game in your sight. Child of Light is not as well known as Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell, or Ghost Recon, but Child of Light should be among them as Ubisoft's flagship franchises. Number 34, Beat Saber. Another reason to purchase a PlayStation Virtual Reality system, Beat Saber is quite the workout. Picture Guitar Hero, but you use lightsabers from Star Wars instead of an air guitar to hit beats on time and progress through the song. It does not seem too bad of an experience in terms of difficulty while playing on the easiest difficulty, but dialing up the difficulty setting and calories will shed off your body extremely quickly. It is such a fun video game, with a gorgeous visual art style and a great soundtrack, not to mention leaderboards that increase the title's replayability. A song creator mode would have been cool, but Beat Saber is, nonetheless, an exemplary rhythm-based video game. Number 33, Tetris Effect. Tetris is one of the most influential video games of all time. The process of stacking up blocks in a specific order to rack up points is an addicting loop that has seen its fair share of iterations over the years. Whether you participate in a battle royale with Tetris 99, or you try to match up bricks with their respective colors in Puyo Puyo Tetris. At their core, these Tetris games play the same as the very first Tetris game that was released in 1988. The same can be said about the 33rd entry in this list, Tetris Effect. However, the Tetris game on the PlayStation 4 is not only a video game, but it's also a source of meditation. There were many days when I would come home from work after a stressful day, spend half an hour with Tetris Effect, and continue on with my day. The combination of mind-boggling visuals, audio cues, and perfect Tetris gameplay with gradually increasing challenges combined to form the best Tetris video game in existence. The personal connection that I have with the title, as well as its favorable effect on yours truly, encouraged me to be thankful to Tetris Effect and its developers. It will always be a game in my weekly rotation. Number 32, Detroit Become Human. Early in this video I talked about Heavy Rain and its incredible storytelling. Although Heavy Rain was the company's best representation during the PlayStation 3 era, Detroit Become Human took center stage a console generation later with the PlayStation 4, and it triumphed over anything that Quantic Dream has ever created. Parenthood, being a human, and slavery are some of the touchy subjects that the plot here covers, and it does so with flying colors in one of the most emotionally gratifying narratives in gaming. The three main protagonists are distinguishable by personalities, cover themes, and gameplay mechanics, and you have a chance to have a reunion with all three characters towards the end. Similar to Heavy Rain though, there will be numerous important decisions that you will have to make, and some of them will lead to not so favorable endings. Even so, Detroit Become Human is a next generation experience on the PlayStation 4, and I am very excited to see what Quantic Dreams will cook with their next scheduled game, Star Wars Eclipse. Number 31, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Jumping ship from one exceptional story to the next, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim's plot has an intriguing structure. Per the title's name, there are 13 essential characters in the game, each of whom is charismatic in his or her own right. You start the story from the perspective of one character. Eventually, you will reach a blockade, and you will have to continue the story from the perspective of another character. The forceful transition between the characters can be jarring, but you will eventually reach a point where the plot goes full steam ahead, and the masterfully written narrative will be yours to experience to your heart's content. When you're not listening to the well-done voice acting performances, you dive into the real-time strategy component of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which can be a ton of fun if you have the right setup and the appropriate upgrades. I still need to play Unicorn Overlord from the same developer, but for now, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is dedicated to fans of complex storytelling. I am one of them, so it's a no-brainer to place 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim on my list. Number 30, Finding Paradise. If you know me as a gamer, you already know that a title story is its most important aspect for me. I have played and enjoyed video games in the past like rigs for the PlayStation Virtual Reality system that have little to no plot. but it's always a preference of mine that a video game incorporates a solid narrative in its package. Freebird Games is a group of developers who created a trilogy of video games for the PC, and each of them will make an appearance on this list. We will start with the lesser of the three, even though it still earned a perfect score from yours truly. Finding Paradise is the second title in the series by Freebird Games, and it continues the story of its prequel, To the Moon. The reason as to why I adore this trilogy so much is because their stories are tearjerkers that depict our fear of mortality and our desire to be loved and love others. The plot in Finding Paradise is the least emotional of the three games, but will still move you more than most video games do. The game also features a perfect soundtrack, gameplay mechanics that include some nice surprises, and an ending that takes the story in an interesting direction with the inevitable conclusion of the trilogy, Imposter Factory. Finding Paradise is not necessarily a standalone game, but it remains as a standout for storytelling in video games.
As we grow.
Number 29, Halo 2. Halo Combat Evolved will be in Halo 2's place if nostalgia took over reason, but there's no question as to which title is superior in my books. After spending hours and hours with the first Halo title, I visited my uncle one day and he set up an original Xbox with the sequel, Halo 2, in the basement. I was hooked from the moment I heard the music in the main menu. Every aspect of Halo Combat Evolved was improved, from its more varied gameplay and environmental design to better map design in the multiplayer portion of the game. The story is more packed with lore, as you receive further details about the Halo rings and the Covenant alien species. The boss fights are appreciated, and there's also a badass Arnold Schwarzenegger moment at the end of the game to close off your experience.
This is Spartan 117. Can anyone hear me? Over.
Isolate that signal. Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
Sir, finishing this fight.
Yes, it's not ideal that it was followed by a cliffhanger that left gamers stranded for 3 years. Nevertheless, Halo 2 is the best of the trilogy, and there's only one more Halo game that tops it on a personal level. We will discuss it shortly. For now, just know that Halo 2 is the best first-person shooter on the original Xbox console. Number 28, Tekken 3. When I spoke about Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, I told you all about my history with Tekken 3. It is only fair then that my first experience with Tekken makes an appearance on the list. It's not visually comparable to Dark Resurrection, but the gameplay and roster of characters is much tighter and more purposeful. As a PlayStation 1 title, you could not do any better in the fighting genre than Tekken 3. The various modes will keep you busy for a while, the roster of characters is awesome, the soundtrack and visuals are great, the cutscenes for each character's arcade run are nicely detailed and provide closure for each fighter, and there are no difficulty spikes to speak of. It was also fun to execute long-string air juggles, which was not available in Tekken or Tekken 2, or at the very least I could not perform them with those titles. Tekken 3 is my introduction to fighting games, and it certainly earned a spot on my list. With that being said, it's not my favorite Tekken title. The chosen king of fighters will be revealed later in the video. Number 27, Halo 4. When I played the first 3 Halo games in the series, the bombastic gameplay carried me through the experience. Halo 4 is different. It maintains the gameplay of the trilogy for the most part, but it's the story that motivated me to complete it. The relationship between Master Chief and Cortana takes a captivating turn, and the events that transpire in Halo 4's adventure further develop both characters as prominent representatives of the Xbox brand. Thankfully, Halo 4 is more than simply an advancement in the franchise's storytelling. The new alien species is interesting and uniquely designed, the missions are more varied than ever, the graphics and soundtrack are superb, and the ending is very touching, especially if you are a fan of the series. The multiplayer also returns in full force, and it's as engrossing as ever. It may be an unpopular choice, but Halo 4 is my favorite title in the series, and one that I do not foresee being topped anytime soon. Number 26, Imposter Factory. The sequel to Finding Paradise and the conclusion to the trilogy by Freebird Games, Imposter Factory starts off in a way that appears to be unconnected to the first 2 titles. If you have ever seen 2019's Knives Out, the plot in the game kickstarts in a similar fashion. You're inside a mansion where you meet people with whom you're not close. All of a sudden, a murder takes place, and you're tasked with finding the culprit. Needless to say, the story branches out and takes off with its fair share of surprises and emotional scenes that ultimately connect to both of its prequels, To the Moon and Finding Paradise. The predictably stellar soundtrack is present, there are slight improvements to the animations, and the lack of puzzles enhances the game's pacing. All in all, Imposter Factory cements Freebird Games as one of my favorite developers, and I look forward to seeing what story their next product will tell us. Number 25, Everhood. Everhood is unlike anything you have ever played. Take the video game Undertale, where the combat is mainly turn-based with the occasional bullet hell shooting. Now, replace the combat with the gameplay from Rock Band. The end result is Everhood. Incredible rhythm sequences that are visually mesmerizing. A narrative that is straightforward, yet touches on deep topics. A catchy soundtrack, wonderful writing, encouraged replayability. Everhood is what would happen if Rock Band or Guitar Hero go balls to the walls with its narrative. And I love Everhood because of it. Some folks may be bothered by the repetition of the gameplay, but we already established that I'm a fan of rhythm-based games with Guitar Hero and Drums Rock, so it makes sense that I would adore Everhood. Give it a shot, you will not regret your choice. Number 24, Pistol Whip. My Friend Pedro gives you a third-person perspective to your dream of becoming John Wick, but Pistol Whip places you in the first-person perspective to realize said dream. The final recommendation on the PlayStation Virtual Reality system, Pistol Whip attempts to capture the craziness of the best action sequences from John Wick, and it's nothing short of perfection. Incredibly fun shooting mechanics that are only elevated with great difficulty scaling. Nice array of modes and customizations that are only enhanced with time spent in the game. Intense boss fights, beautiful and slick presentation. It goes without saying that the more challenging you decide to alter the video game, the more calories you will burn in real life. Pistol Whip is an absolute system seller for the PlayStation Virtual Reality system, so be ready to use most of your senses to take down your opponents one by one on your way to becoming a virtual John Wick. Number 23, Planet of Lana. When I watched the trailer for Planet of Lana for the first time, my initial impressions were overly positive. In fact, the visual presentation caught my interest immediately. It's such a good looking video game. Once I got my hands on the game, I was pleasantly surprised that it was more than eye candy. The audio is just as well executed as the visuals, the lore is very interesting and includes a few emotional moments, and the puzzles increase in complexity but are never frustrating or unfair. The plot also has great pacing, but I was sad by the ending. It was not because of the narrative, it was due to the short length of Planet of Lana. Thankfully, a sequel, Planet of Lana 2 Children of the Leaf, was released this year, and I look forward to playing it. If it's as good as the first game in the series and increases the length of the story, Planet of Lana 2 Children of the Leaf may be in contention for being my game of the year. Needless to say, Planet of Lana is industry leading in the production value of indie games, and I will certainly keep you all posted with a video review for the sequel later this year. Number 22, Blasphemous. The biggest reason as to why Blasphemous 2 is lower on this list is due to the lower novelty of playing a quote-unquote religious Metroidvania. If Blasphemous 2 was the first entry in the series, we will be talking about it in detail right now. Nevertheless, I cannot complain too much because 2019's Blasphemous exists and is the leading cause for the sequel's existence, so now I have to shift gears and praise the original Blasphemous. You will be immediately captivated by its art style, which is both cool and utterly gross. The presentation is simply amazing across the board. Excluding the visuals, the difficulty of the game is challenging, yet fair. The Metroidvania-style level layout rewards exploration, the inclusion of free DLC is much appreciated, and there are multiple endings that further develop the creepy lore of the title. There are portions of the lore that must be researched, similarly to the lore of typical From Software titles such as Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. But Blasphemous is a brutal yet entertaining Metroidvania game that encouraged me to fall in love with the contribution of artists to the video game industry. Number 21, Tekken 7. Tekken 3 introduced me to fighting games, and Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection gifted me the opportunity to take my fighting prowess on the go. Tekken 7 may not be available on a handheld, but the package that it presented to gamers back in 2015 is magnificent and unmatched by any other fighting video game that I've ever played. An impressive array of unique characters with some cool downloadable fighters and guest appearances. The story is not in the same conversation as narratives in the NetherRealm games, such as Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat 10, but it's pretty good here nonetheless. The presentation is fantastic. The variety of both offline and online modes, as well as unlockables, are awesome. It also brings back Tekken Bull from Dark Resurrection, which was a cool surprise once I discovered it. I still miss the individual short stories from Tekken 3, but Tekken 7 is the best competitive fighting game that I've ever played, and it's also a perfect introduction to fighting games, since the game includes an extensive practice mode. Tekken 8 was a disappointment compared to Tekken 7, so hopefully Tekken 9 can course correct and give us an experience that more closely resembles Tekken 7. Number 20, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I've been a fan of Star Wars ever since the original film's release in 1977. I enjoyed the original trilogy, the prequels, and the new trilogy, despite some reserved feelings for certain choices in each of those trilogies. When it comes to video games that share the IP, I dipped my toe in numerous titles, with the most noteworthy examples being Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Dark Forces, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and LEGO Star Wars. Yes, I played the very first LEGO Star Wars and it was a treat. Re-experiencing some of the movies with LEGO figures was neat, and unlocking both heroes and villains and using them post-game was a dream come true for fans of Star Wars. I saved the LEGO Star Wars game to the end of that list because of the 20th video game on the list of my top 100 favorite video games of all time, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. If you want to talk about dream come true for fans of Star Wars, look no further than my game of the year for 2022. Incredible amount of side content, visuals and music are top notch, stellar boss fights, especially against Darth Maul with the implementation of combos. The game was also my introduction to voice acting in the LEGO games, which elevated my enjoyment to the highest of heights. If you have a semblance of adoration for the Star Wars IP, you owe it to yourself to play LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. If you have never seen Star Wars, it would not be a bad opt-out for watching the actual films. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is the best LEGO-based video game of all time. Number 19, Neva. Back in 2008, I wrapped up a typical day at my high school. As I was walking towards my father's car, I noticed that he was holding something in his hand. It was moving. A second passed by and I was holding a puppy. Her name was Z. She was a crazy dog, but we all loved her very much. She went on to live for 13 years before we were forced to put her down at the end of last year, due to health complications. We all took what happened to heart, and I was not an exception. I have missed her a lot ever since. I'm opening up some old wounds because I want you to understand why I decided to include Neva on the list of my favorite video games of all time. The tale places you in the shoes of what looks like a warrior, but fear not because you're accompanied by a giant dog. The relationship between both characters carried the video game on its back and displays a story that touches on important themes. In addition to the narrative, the presentation is gorgeous from start to finish, the gameplay is a nice mix of puzzles and combat, and the ending is very powerful. As with many impactful conclusions, you will be left with a few questions. With that being said, Neva is an artistic masterpiece within the space of indie video games, and you owe it to yourself to play Neva at your earliest convenience. Number 18, Astrobot. Earlier in the video, I spoke about products that were simultaneously released with the launch of PlayStation consoles. The free inclusion of Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5 in particular was especially heartwarming since the console was quite pricey to begin with. When I covered Astro's Playroom, I praised the experience, but pointed out that, at the end of the day, it was a tech demo. The developers behind Astro's Playroom heard my cry and decided to directly address my concern in the form of Astrobot. The Game of the Year at the Game Awards from 2024, Astrobot is exactly what I was looking for. Astro's Playroom, but in a much more expanded format. Similar to Astro's Playroom, Astrobot is an absolute love letter to fans of PlayStation. As you play the game, you receive a visualization of the history of PlayStation. You will come across characters that are dressed as famous PlayStation IPs, such as Horizon Zero Dawn and Infamous. You will run into collectibles that display virtual models of both consoles and accessories from PlayStation. Nostalgia aside, Astrobot is quite entertaining. The boss fights in particular are exciting and remind me of the bots that I experienced in old school PlayStation titles such as Croc: Legend of the Gobos. Astrobot is a game for both casual and veteran fans of PlayStation, and it's the ideal video game to show anyone who is intrigued by a gamer's interest in PlayStation products. Number 17, Shinobi: Art of Vengeance. Within a span of a month, two of my most anticipated video games of 2025 were released. On one hand, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound offered the gameplay of typical Ninja Gaiden video games without being ball-busting to newcomers like Ninja Gaiden Black. It also featured several accessibility options that catered to both newbies and hardcore fans of action games. Although I enjoyed it immensely, it lacked the enemy variety, and the secret ending was very disappointing. The other product that was released a month after Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is Shinobi: Art of Vengeance. Unlike Ninja Gaiden, I never played Shinobi prior to the release of Art of Vengeance. I was aware of the IP through YouTube coverage of 2002's Shinobi, but I never gave it a shot. If Art of Vengeance is an indication to the quality of the series, I may have to play them sooner rather than later. The art style is insane with equally insane animations. The combat is fulfilling in full variety with the combos. The boss fights are exceptional. The endgame perks are awesome and force you to improve your skill as a gamer. There's also a plethora of unlockable items and skills, and none of them feel wasteful. The plot may not push any boundaries, but Shinobi: Art of Vengeance is one of my favorite video games of 2025, and one of the best action platformers that I've ever played. Number 16, Nine Souls. Among the entire catalog of video games by From Software, one of them managed to pique my interest. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. I cannot get close to beating it, but I love the combat system and the focus on parrying. It removed the ability to grind levels, yet there was something about the parrying system that encouraged me to plow through some of the more annoying sections of Sekiro's early part. All of this backstory leads us to the 16th spot on this list, Nine Souls. You play as a cat-like figure that suffers a tragedy at the beginning of the game and places himself on a quest to take revenge on those who wished him harm. These enemies are powerful and come with a unique set of skills that puts them head and shoulder above the regular enemies in the game. Thankfully, the protagonist of Nine Souls is not only familiar with an in-depth combat system, but also a parrying ability similar to the protagonist of Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. The combat alone deserves praise, but Nine Souls does not stop here. The story is easy to follow and rich with lore. There are a plethora of discoverable upgrades throughout the Metroidvania-style level design, and the visuals are slick. It would have been helpful to unlock the ability to fast travel a bit earlier in the game, but Nine Souls is arguably my favorite Metroidvania-style video game of all time, and one that deserves everybody's attention. Number 15, Hades. My favorite aspect of Bastion, a game that we discussed earlier on this list, is the way the story is told. There is a narrator in the background that comments on the hero's past, the hero's actions in-game, and the lore that encompasses every aspect of the game. Hades was developed by the same team, Supergiant Games, and its storytelling method absolutely dwarfs the narration of Bastion. There's no narrator in the background. What it has, however, is an impressive explosion of lore that features gods and goddesses from Greek mythology. You play the role of the son of Hades, and you have a simple task: defeat your father and escape the underworld. I loved the core concept alone, but then I met the different characters in Hades and I became completely engrossed with the experience. Every single character is interesting and full of personality, and a lot of them provide power-ups that ease your roguelite gameplay experience. Hades also has wonderful incentives for multiple playthroughs, 6 unique weapons, bosses that will put all of your skills to the test, and stunning visuals and soundtrack. Hades may be a roguelike video game, and as a result, will not appeal to many gamers who stray away from the subgenre. Nonetheless, the lore and the writing alone are enough to convince you to at least take a peek at the game once it's sold at a discount. Hades is a great video game, but we will soon talk about its big sister, which, believe it or not, is a superior product. Number 14, Super Mario Wonder. What would happen if Nintendo decided to remake Super Mario World? It's a question that would result in arguably the best Mario video game of all time, but it's currently a hypothetical. Super Mario Wonder, released in 2023 for the Nintendo Switch, and it's the closest we can get to playing a remake of Super Mario World. A side-scrolling 3D platformer, Super Mario Wonder is jam-packed with creativity. Every level is a treat for your eyes, whether we are talking about the level design, the animations, or the character models. It's impressive that these visuals exist on the Nintendo Switch, which was outdated back in 2023. The game features the typical Mario gameplay, and it's refined with various stages, cool boss battles, unique power-ups, and exceptional use of physics. As a combination of Super Mario World's level design and Super Mario Odyssey's creativity, Super Mario Wonder is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, my favorite Mario video game of all time, and the best platformer that I have ever played. Number 13, Hades 2. Have you ever played a perfect video game and wondered, how can the developers improve it in a sequel? Well, meet Hades 2. The original Hades is a masterful example of the roguelike genre. The sequel takes everything from the first Hades title and improves upon every singular aspect. Whether we are talking about the combat system, the lore that is described by the numerous interesting characters, or simply the amount of content on display, Hades 2 is head and shoulder above any video game in the subgenre. Once you beat the game and start a new playthrough, you will learn that you only completed half of it, and there is another half that awaits you above the underworld. If you love Hades 2, this revelation will certainly bring a smile on your face. In addition to the aforementioned praises, Hades 2 also has an awesome array of unlockables, great voiceovers, and cool references to the original Hades. Hades 2 is a sub-genre defining video game, and one that will remain installed on my Nintendo Switch for the foreseeable future. Number 12, Ghost of Yotei. I grew up in an era where Samurai Jack was one of the personal highlights on Cartoon Network. It was a straightforward yet extremely amusing series that followed a samurai named Jack as he tried to eliminate the monster that sent him back in time and away from his family. Fast forward to 2023, and my dad introduced me to a TV show on Netflix called Blue-Eyed Samurai. It lacks the charm of Samurai Jack, but it more than makes up for it with its visual flair, the basic yet appealing tale of running through a series of powerful foes in search for revenge, and the entertaining action set pieces. Both Samurai Jack and Blue-Eyed Samurai contribute to the appeal that I discovered with Ghost of Yotei, the sequel to 2020's Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima was a powerhouse in the PlayStation 4, but in my opinion, it was overhyped by many members of the gaming community due to hatred for 2020's The Last of Us Part 2 by Naughty Dog. It was a great game, but it pales in comparison to Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Yotei's protagonist and story have neat similarities to Blue-Eyed Samurai and Samurai Jack. You play the role of a relatively quiet protagonist who is familiar with a sword and ventures off to avenge her family after a traumatic event from her childhood. By the end of the tale, you experience a story that is both relatable and emotional. In addition, the presentation is consistently beautiful, the combat is more refined than the title's predecessor, and the side missions directly tied to the main plot. A few graphical glitches aside, Ghost of Yotei slashes its way into my list of the top 100 favorite video games of all time, and I look forward to seeing the next installment in the Ghost series. Number 11, Lies of P. Lies of P takes the classic story of Pinocchio and creates a mind-bending world where you are tasked with finding Geppetto, the human who created you in the first place. The gameplay is similar to From Software titles like Demon's Souls, as you will do everything in your power to destroy your opponents, fight gigantic monsters, and roll around to your heart's content. Unlike From Software's titles, however, the combat is both more responsive and more rewarding. The parry system is immediate, unlike games like Dark Souls 2, where parry is noticeably delayed. Lies of P also includes visually appealing graphics, multiple endings, and the inclusion of a new Game Plus mode, allowing you to restart with all of your upgrades. The lack of online functionality is easily forgiven due to the sheer quality on display here, as Lies of P is the quintessential example of taking a beloved IP and creating something that is both original and fun. It may be punishing at times, but Lies of P is a title that will be on your mind long after the end credits roll. Number 10, To the Moon. We have arrived at my top 10 favorite video games of all time, and what a better way to start than the game that kickstarted Freebird Games' trilogy of top-tier story-based titles. To the Moon tells the tale of two scientists who invented an ability to allow terminally ill patients to go back in time through a dream and re-experience the past. At that point, there are some posed questions to be answered. Would you change anything about the past? What would you change? How would it affect the future? These questions are all addressed on behalf of the featured terminally ill patient of To the Moon, and the end result left me in tears, particularly during the final scene, which is out of this world. As a matter of fact, To the Moon is the second most emotional narrative that I have ever experienced in a video game. Furthermore, the main characters are lovable, the music is second to none, and there are some nice visual enhancements from its original release on the PC. To the Moon will ask you to reflect on your own life choices, which is a small part of the reason as to why To the Moon is my 10th most favorite video game of all time. Number 9. The First Berserker Kazan. As part of a subgenre that is based on a personally disliked series of games, aka the From Software titles, you would think that it would not be possible for an imitation of From Software's titles, or in other words, Souls-like titles, to be present in my list of the top 10 favorite video games of all time. Needless to say, there will be 2 entries from that subgenre. First up, we have The First Berserker Kazan. Prior to its release, I did not hear much about it. I watched the trailer and thought that it looked like a generic Souls-like experience with some flashy combos. After I spent over 130 hours with the game and earned its platinum trophy, I can confidently say that, at the very least, I was half right. The combat system is incredibly satisfying, both the main and side missions are rewarding and yield neat rewards, and the story, which includes multiple endings, is cool. Moreover, the presentation as a whole is gorgeous, and the array of difficulty settings is a fresh inclusion when compared to other Souls-like experiences.
Finish him. Bro. Bro. I swear to God. Finish him. Bro, I can't do it.
The finale raises some questions that would have been answered in a sequel, but the company behind the title shut down earlier this year. Only time will tell if Kazan will receive the sequel that it deserves. Till then, we can spend more time praising my 9th favorite video game of all time, The First Berserker Kazan. Number 8. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Prior to playing this game, I would say that you are crazy if you enlighten me on the true size of the team behind it. Believe it or not, but the initial core staff of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was anywhere between 30 to 33 developers. I still cannot believe that statistic, but this game, if anything else, is a testament to a major problem in the gaming industry as of April 2026. It is humbling when multi-billion-dollar companies like EA and Activision spew unappealing fodder like Madden NFL 2026 and Call of Duty Black Ops 4, but a team of 30-plus developers managed to create a gaming experience that demolishes either product by a gigantic margin. If anyone opposes the idea that video games are not a form of art, point them in the direction of Expedition 33. The story is dynamic and involves multiple memorable characters, the soundtrack will convince you to purchase its vinyl, and the gameplay is easy to learn but hard to master. It also incorporates ridiculously good boss fights and side content, as well as an ending that both provides a choice and is heart-wrenching regardless of your choice. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 won the title of the best video game of 2025 at last year's Game Awards, and I'm not surprised in the slightest. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is my 8th favorite video game of all time. Number 7. Black Myth Wukong. I never predicted that Black Myth Wukong would be as good as it turned out to be. Once again, a Souls-like experience ended up on my list, and it's the epitome of gaming's action genre. The initial bout against Erlang is a treat for Dragon Ball Z fans, as you involve yourself in a fast-paced fight that transcends the earth and the heavens. Cut to half an hour later and you play the role of a monkey who, slowly but surely, ventures off to become the next commemorated fighter, while at the same time conquering awe-inspiring bosses. Black Myth Wukong could be considered as a boss gauntlet, like an indie darling called Titan Souls, but I do not consider it as an insult. There's an incredible array of bosses, ranging from giant wolves, fast grasshoppers, and grizzly bears. None of them felt out of place, and I have not had the same sense of satisfaction with Lies of P or First Berserker Kazan like I did with Black Myth Wukong.
Fuck it. What the heck it is, you know?
Like a falling star!
No. Yes! Yes!
Excluding the praise for the bosses, the story is engaging and told like a classic tale, the combat mechanics are rewarding, and there are multiple endings. Its performance was a bit rough at launch, but I believe that the developers ironed out the frame rate and it currently runs beautifully. Black Myth Wukong is my favorite Souls-like video game, and it's my 7th favorite video game of all time. Number 6. Sifu. Even though Black Myth Wukong is the epitome of gaming's action genre, the sense of reward from its combat system pales in comparison to the fighting mechanics in Sifu. Let's backtrack and provide some background knowledge about the game. Sifu places you in the shoes of a martial arts master's son or daughter. After a tragic family event, you go through a montage as you grow up and learn the basics of the combat system. Once it's done, you kickstart your adventure by taking out every individual who was involved in that fateful evening. Sifu is a masterclass of combat. The first moment when you either bob and weave your opponent's punches, catch a bottle mid-air and throw it back at your enemies, or lay a series of fists onto an unsuspecting fool will be grained into your memory and serve as evidence as to why you have to see the title's conclusion. It's not an easy feat, as the difficulty is quite high. In addition, you become older after every death, and once you reach a certain age, the game is over, and you must decide if you should restart the level where you died, or go back to an earlier level in the game and try again. Either option will allow you to relive the incredible combat, so it's a win-win scenario. The game also includes slick and beautiful animations, solid soundtrack, and roguelike elements that are not intrusive, as you unlock permanent upgrades for future runs. As a package that has received additional difficulty settings and challenge modes for free since its launch, Sifu is my 6th favorite video game of all time. Number 5. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. The 2020 Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and a title that certainly is now without its fair share of controversies. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a depressing video game. Whether you're playing as Ellie from the original The Last of Us title, or as the new character, Abby, you're about to go through a roller coaster of emotions that will force you into extremely difficult situations, and you will have no choice but to watch them. This description may sound unappealing, or may even turn you away from the game, but it's the way that the plot plays with your heartstrings that personally is very admiring. While the original The Last of Us focused on the themes of fatherhood and the relationship between Joel and Ellie, Last of Us Part 2 is primarily about revenge, sacrifices, and the idea that there's no such thing as a good person. After playing the game around 13 times, I can attest to the fact that The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered has one of the greatest narratives in gaming. In addition, the production value is industry-leading, the gameplay is much improved over the title's predecessor, the soundtrack is memorable, and the inclusion of the roguelike no return mode and the director's commentary add much needed value and context to the game. The game also implements a chronological mode in case you want to play the title chronologically, since the plot heavily relies on flashbacks, which I did not mind at all. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered cemented Naughty Dog as one of my favorite developers in the industry, and the game as my 5th favorite video game of all time. Number 4. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. When it comes to pure immersion in a video game, I don't believe that any game comes remotely close to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. After configuring your options in the main menu and starting your journey, you are heavily encouraged to wear headphones. If you abide by that recommendation, you will understand why I made the bold statement in the beginning. Senua, the protagonist of the game, suffers from psychosis, leading to both hallucinations and voices in her head.
It's not too late to get into the boat and go back. No one will judge her. No one will ever know. Oh, she hurt us.
Sadly, these voices continuously undermine her efforts to find the love of her life, who went missing in the bowels of hell. The progression of these voices throughout the game results in one of the best audio designs that I've ever experienced in a video game. It goes without saying that the audio design of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which includes the effects of the psychosis, the music, and the performance by Senua's voice actress, only contribute to a narrative that is powerful and engrossing. Furthermore, the puzzles are decent, and the combat system is straightforward. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a generational gaming experience, and it's my 4th favorite video game of all time. Number 3, Counter-Strike Condition Zero. Even though there are noticeable improvements with Counter-Strike Source, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and the most recent Counter-Strike 2, no other first-person shooter has taken more of my free time than Counter-Strike Condition Zero. Most of the servers are empty nowadays, but there's no denial that the community was jam-packed in the mid-2000s. The gunplay is wonderfully tactical and awards precision, patience, and careful planning. Despite the speed of the gameplay, Counter-Strike Condition Zero includes a nice variety of weapons, each of which feels unique and appropriate for specific situations. Both of the gunplay and the weaponry would not work without solid maps. Not only does Counter-Strike Condition Zero have them in spades, but the game includes tools that will allow you to create your own maps. My favorite types of maps are certainly the smaller, more condensed maps that consistently place you in the action, or the surf maps that take away the stress from killing or being killed and offer you an opportunity to glide throughout the map in a fun way. If you are not entertained by the multiplayer or the created maps, the title also implements a single-player mode with different missions that introduce you to the types of matches in multiplayer. There are also difficulty settings, and the scaling of these options is untouchable. Overall, Counter-Strike Condition Zero is my favorite first-person shooter and my 3rd favorite video game of all time. Number 2, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It's true that Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is the most immersive video game that I've ever played. However, no video game has allowed me to disconnect from reality and be engrossed in its fictional world as much as my experience with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It's expected that a role-playing game would achieve this goal, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt reigns supreme as the best role-playing video game in existence. Regardless of any previous experience that you may or may not have with the series, you will immediately be invested in the world building and the story of Geralt the Witcher and his protege, Ciri. The story is superbly told, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. The side content serves as a role model for other role-playing video games to follow, as they are both interesting and connect to the main narrative to a certain degree. Furthermore, the graphics and musical score are beautiful and rich in detail, the characters are lovable across the board, the combat system is flexible, and there is certainly a great value for the buck. I'm still disappointed in myself for not playing the 2 pieces of downloadable content, but it's only a matter of time before this issue is addressed. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is the perfect gaming-based time killer, and it's my 2nd favorite video game of all time. Number 1, Telltale: The Walking Dead. If you have been following me on either Twitch or YouTube for a while, the number 1 pick on this list should not come as a surprise. As a fan of storytelling in video games, Telltale: The Walking Dead is in a league of its own. You play the role of Lee Everett, a convicted murderer who is on his way to jail in a post-apocalyptic world filled with zombies. After your transit crashes, you stumble across an empty house where you meet Clementine, a young girl whose parents are absent. At that moment, you decide to take care of Clementine, and the rest of the story only escalates when it comes to emotional moments, difficult story-based choices where characters will permanently die, and heartbreaking scenes that display the impact of the beautifully written characters. My initial playthrough was the first time in a video game where I was visibly tearing up over the fate of one of the characters. The title is an adventure that lasts for a total of 4 seasons, although the first season of Telltale: The Walking Dead is my favorite by a landslide. Other key aspects of the game are the exceptional soundtrack, the graphics that are nicely designed to look drawn like a comic book, and the fantastic writing. Telltale: The Walking Dead is an exemplary piece of evidence for powerful storytelling, and it is, beyond question, my favorite video game of all time.
Atop the crags and cliffs, the air is thin. So we'll find a mountain path on down the hill. past years and learns mark the trail. Take us back, oh, take us back, oh, take us back. Take us back, oh, take us back, oh, take us back.
Well, folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. What are your favorite video games of all time? Do you disagree or agree with some of my placements on this list? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AS, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.